Grand day, loved ones. Welcome back to the Chitty Chitty Chat Room. My name is Angel. I'll be your host, or you can call me Black Butter. I'll be your host for tonight. And tonight's topic is going to be child support. I thought it was a befitting topic since today is Father's Day. And let me say happy Father's Day to all the wonderful fathers out there who are really going the extra mile to make it happen and get these babies where they need to be. Um, Shout out to all the fathers who wish they could be there and cannot for whatever reason. Happy Father's Day to all the dads who love their kids. How about that? Um, let's go ahead and get started into the topic. Um, Ladies, I'm going to go ahead and put this disclaimer out there that I am not jumping the guy's side. However, being a woman myself, going through the situation via divorce, once I divorced my children, I did not put him on child support. I did not make him pay alimony. I did not do any of those things. For the most part, we had an amicable situation at one point where we could talk and discuss things and had somewhat of an order going. And then, it changed as things happened, but in the very beginning of that, my bitterness, I used to threaten him all the time that, the things that I was requesting him to do were not necessarily fair, and I used to threaten him on putting him on child support, which was not good. I was a good bit more immature at that time in my life. I've grown a good bit now, so I do understand the era of that thought process, and I think a lot of women are in that thought process of we have the babies and everything that goes with that, the time, the care, the extra that a lot of times child support does not cover. Child support, even though most men struggle to pay it, it doesn't cover everything that the child needs. So we as women, we have to make up that difference. And I think that's where the bitterness comes from, and we feel like we need to force the men onto to child support to get some of our funds back, if you will. And I get that, ladies, but I don't think that's the way. I think that's the way that an unjust court system come up with to keep from really mending our households, especially in the Black community. Our households are so divided. Our children are so divided from us as parents. We're divided from our families. And everything it's like this electronic world, and everybody's caught up in it, and nobody's paying attention to anybody. I can remember when I was going through divorce, I didn't pay attention to my children as I should have. I was there and, doing all the important things, but there were some things that I missed that had I not been caught up in my own bitterness, in antics of baby mama, baby daddy, I'm gonna do better than you type stuff, then I would have caught some of the things that they were going through dealing with the divorce and the separation of the two parents, because my two elder kids had us in the home together for most of their life from beginning, basically until about 15 for one and 12 for the other. So, it was a big adjustment for them, and I didn't think about it like that. I was thinking like, oh, they're kids, they don't really feel it and understand, but they do. And that's one of the reasons that, I'm making this video and other videos that are to come, because the kids need an advocate. It's not that I'm jumping on anyone's side, but the kids, I do know that it takes money to raise a child. So I'm not saying that a man should not participate, but maybe we shouldn't take them through the court systems. And, something I heard another YouTuber say, like, how do you expect these men to love these kids when we've turned them into bills? You know what I mean? So if your child is no longer little Jimmy, if he's a $700 a month bill, and I can get and understand that, even though that those monies have to be paid to take care of the kid, I don't think we should necessarily go through the court system to do that. I think child support should be changed a bit in the aspect of it should be more of a mediation type of thing. find out what's going on in the two parents' lives and figure out what's best for the kids. I think guys, part of not paying child support is taking some of the blunt end of, caring for these children. The changing of the diapers or the missing of work when the school calls and stuff like that. I think the women will be more agreeable if you made arrangements to get the children and take the children out of their hair and allow them to get a break, rest, relax. Whatever it is they do in their break, it's their business, and please leave it their business, or that's another complication. While you have the kids, make the kids your all and your everything. But as far as child support, I'm not certain that I actually agree with it. My children's dad pays, but he pays voluntarily. We're not through the court system. And we've never been through the court system. And we are co-parenting really well now with our children, but at one point it wasn't the same. It wasn't this peace and amicable way. And a lot of that had to do with me. Half of that had to do with me because I did not want my children's dad anywhere in my business, and he was. So, it was a back and forth of a bitterness type thing. So for me, this whole child support thing, I'm glad I never followed through with any of those threats to do that, and that we worked it out the way that we did, and we can talk about what our kids need. And when I call, like for instance, my son is taking self-defense classes, and his dad pays for that. And then, he needed some things for that. His dad pays for that. So, it's not like he just sends me cash to, for child support. He actually also does other things and participates in his life. He comes to get him and sees him and calls him, and he's there, just not as much as I am. So we've worked it out to where it's a pretty good situation. And it's something that I would recommend for a lot of people, especially our African-American family, needing to learn how to mediate and how to sit down and take pen and paper and write a plan out to how we're going to care for these children so that we're doing what's best for them and not just for ourselves. I think that would to me would be a great alternative to the whole child support situation because, speaking from the men's behalf, finally, I know a couple men who have a couple children, and they are paying through the wahoo for child support, barely making it. As a matter of fact, I have a friend who pays about $1,200, a little bit over $1,200 a month in child support. And, he's working 3 jobs, trying to make it happen, always tired, needing to take better care of himself, but he has to work 3 jobs to make that $1,200 happen plus his life, So it's one of those things that I've seen it where there are bitter baby mamas, oh my gosh, bitter baby mamas where they are just doing it just because he has moved on, because he has a girlfriend, because he didn't love him, because they can't stand him, but for whatever reason. And, and it becomes a vindictive process, and the court is on their side. And that's wrong, because what happens is it takes the kid, and now the kid is a casualty of war. This child that's in the middle of battle between his 2 parents, so one child who has very little rights to dad, and the mom who has all the rights and all the emotion. You know what I mean? We as women, we're very emotional creatures, and I feel like in situations like that, we can be too emotional and bitter and hold on to the things that he did that he should not have did, ladies, when we were in a relationship. But it really doesn't have anything to do with our children. We have to learn to be strong and put that aside so that we can communicate properly, because these children need both parents. They don't need just one of us. They need both parents to be balanced and healthy and understand things of life. If your child never has your dad around, he or she don't won't understand men as they should. If the child never has a mother around, he or she won't understand women as they should. So it's crucial that both parties are there. It's crucial that they learn to get along. It's crucial that the child can feel loved and abundance throughout this transition of whatever your transition is. It may not be divorce. It may just be a relationship. It may be a one night stand, whatever. But be amicable enough that you can really listen to the child and do what's best for the child in this situation. That's my best advice. As far as the child support, I do think that the court system thing is a bit too much. It's it's putting the government in your business. I'll say that first and foremost. And it's like I said the YouTuber earlier when he said that how do you expect the dad to love the kid when the kid's a bill? And it's like now this person has this bill for 18 years and they didn't even sign anything to get this bill. Yeah, they did the making of the baby now. We know that. They didn't sign anything to get this bill. And I know we as women will just fine look at it, well, but he made that baby. And it's like, yes, that's true, but you did too. So when it comes to him having to be mandatory put on a bill, then you both should have sat down and talked about it differently before it happened so that this wouldn't be the situation that it is. So you can't really blame one or the other because both parties found themselves in this situation. So we can't sit here and say this or that. What we can do as people, as human beings, loving each other and wanting the best for each other is, sit down, talk about things, and figure it out versus moving on emotion and bitterness and festivity and all the things that make for a bad chemical blow up. You know what I mean? And the kid pays the price at the end of every day. The kid pays the price. You know what I mean? And I know about you guys, but I love my kids and I don't want them to have to pay the price for my actions, my feelings and emotions and bitterness. As a matter of fact, if it ever comes a time where they even have to deal with it, I want to show the example of how not to find yourself in this situation. So, do I agree with child support? No. Personally, I don't agree with child support. Do I think the dad should support the child? Yes. I think the dad and the mother should be able to sit down and write an agreement of what needs to happen for a plan of action for your child. We're saving for college, what we're doing. We want to go to a prep school, we want to go to public school. What do we want for our child? Let's sit down and have a discussion about what we want for our child, what it's going to cost, what each one can provide. And don't sit there and just wait for the other one to say, oh, I got this. Figure out what you want to do in this process of planning for your child. And volunteer. Don't be petty and say, well, I ain't doing this. And it's about your kid. You know what I mean? If you don't go out to make a plan that's best for your kid, then what are you going to go all out for? You know what I mean? So I would suggest sitting down with both parents and coming up with a plan of action for that child, what that child will want, need, and set a budget for that so that it's not as hectic. Because I think, to me, one of the worst thing is when I had big things coming up with the kids and I didn't budget it and I had to hit him at the last minute and hear his mouth because I hit him at the last minute and he didn't have it. Not that he didn't want to help, he just didn't have it and I didn't plan better. So, ladies, I think a lot more men will help if it's not a force of the neck type of thing. Men are not going to respond to that type of thing very well, especially not black men. You know what I mean? The more you push the force of the neck on, the more they're going to buck and rebel. So what I would advise to you ladies is to find your power as women. And what I mean by that is women, you have the power to sit down and talk to a man and him listen. And when you find out how to use that, you can find out how to communicate with your children's dad to benefit the child. And what I mean by using that, because we, a lot of times, if we're bitter and we have built, old emotion, we're going to be insulting a little bit. So, you know, you can't be insulting someone and expecting them to listen in and take in what you're saying. So be very respectful in these conversations that you have with your children's fathers, because they deserve respect just like you do. And I think a lot of them not getting respect is why they're showing more and more disrespect to the women. So let's lead. Let's show them how to do things. Like women make houses, homes. Let's make this world livable. You know what I mean? In the aspect of knowing who we are and owning our power to do good in this world. I will elaborate more on child support in another video. I appreciate your time, loved ones, as always. Thank you for joining me on the Chit Chat. Thank you for sipping with me. Thank you for sipping with me. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Happy Father's Day again to all the wonderful fathers of the world who just love their babies.